Having my debut album finally out into the world has been an incredible journey. It's been more emotional than I thought it would be, and kind of a full circle moment for me and how far I've come in my musical journey. When I was going into making music when I was 14, my intention was that I wanted to connect my personal life to music and connect the music to my fans. And I've always listened to music to connect with artists and understand my own feelings better. It's really nice to have the opportunity to provide that for other people as well. Hey MTV News, I'm Loren Gray, and these are my top 5 musical influences. My first musical influence is Eminem. He's been my favorite artist my entire life. I grew up with his music. I feel like he was the first artist that I heard that unapologetically, fully, wholly expressed himself and his life through his music. And there were so many things that I connected to, and I couldn't believe that someone could make music that was so authentically them. I really admired that. So I'd say he's always been my #1 music influence.
So we should expect a rap album?
Definitely not a rapper, but if I could, I would, but I can't. I'm not a good rapper. My next musical influence would be Taylor Swift. I feel like everyone knows this by this point. She is my biggest inspiration, not just in terms of what she does as an artist, but who she is as a person. I've never met someone who carries themselves so beautifully and humbly, and it's really inspiring to see someone who's such an incredibly talented songwriter, musician, artist, performer, but is so true to themselves, and that's something that I really admire. My favorite Taylor song, you cannot ask a Swiftie what their favorite Taylor song is. I would say my top 3 albums would be I'm an Evermore girl, I'm a folklore girl. Both of those together in my head, they just go, they flow. And then I would have to say Red. Right now it's Red. I was going down a 1989 path for a while. I came back to Red. Fearless, Speak Now, always a special place in my heart. It's really hard to pick. I'm sorry. And Midnights. I mean, Midnights is incredible, but yeah. No, I just named all of her albums basically, so. Another one that I feel like is usually unexpected, but I have tattoos for him all over my body. Lil Peep. In 2019, I was going through probably one of the most difficult periods of my life, and I was in such a low place, and I discovered him at that time in my life, and it was something that I really connected to because I felt like the feelings that I felt were so deep and sad and raw that no one would ever understand what I was going through. And here was this guy who was very different than me, but was feeling a lot of the same things that I was. So I really connected to him, and I'm really sad that I never got to see him live. But I have all kinds of tattoos, and I still love him. Lana Del Rey. The first time I came across her music was around the Young and Beautiful, Summertime Sadness era, and dug really deep into her music and who she is as a person, and I've sat behind her and been in her presence on multiple occasions, and I've always been too afraid to say anything, but she's stunning, and again, just another person that's unapologetically herself and very inspiring. And my final musical influence would probably be My Chemical Romance, Gerard Way. This is another one that I really dove into during 2019, but was introduced to My Chemical Romance in 5th grade because I had a friend who was older than me and cooler than me, and she was really into, I guess, like My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco. So I was kind of a poser, and then now that I'm older and I can appreciate it, I got super into My Chemical Romance, went and saw them in concert. It was amazing, and I love how they perform. I think it's so bold, and I don't know, I also just love Gerard Way, So the title of the album is Guilty, which was the first single that we released from the album, but for me it was the most pivotal song during the songwriting process because it was the first song where I felt like I'd really connected and drawn that line between my feelings as a human being and what I wanted to say as an artist. I feel like I always struggled to put my thoughts and my emotions into words, into music. And that was the first time that I was able to articulate something that really, really meant something to me on a deep level through music and songwriting. When I was choosing singles, I wasn't even necessarily choosing the songs that I thought were the strongest, because that's usually how the single process goes. You choose the songs that you think are going to perform the best, but for me, I wanted to choose the songs that connected this story that I wanted to tell through the videos. There's 4 videos. Everyone asks about the bear. There's a bear who appears through all of the videos, and there's sort of a reveal that happens, and I have my own version of what that story is, but I wanted to leave it up to interpretation, because I feel like there's so many different ways that that story can be interpreted depending on who you are and how you sort of listen to the music and what you get from it. That's one of the things that I was looking forward to the most on the visual side of things, was seeing how people interpret it themselves. So there's a lot of symbolism through the visuals. It took a lot of self-reflection, and I also felt like I was confronting a lot of parts of myself that I had never confronted, which was scary, but it was well worth it. It's incredible to have sort of a tangible representation of that period of my life that I can look back on and share with people and connect with people through. So it's been a really incredible process, and the visuals definitely represent that part of it. The song that I'm most excited about would have to be Misery Loves Company. I'm a huge fan of country music, and Something in the Orange came out, and when I heard it, I had just gotten dumped, and I was like, I need to write a song like this right now. I need this. I loved sort of the dark, country, mysterious, ominous vibe of it, and I wanted to create something telling the story that I was experiencing in that moment. And it was me and my 2 friends, and we wrote the song. It was less than 24 hours after I got broken up with, and it ended up being the last song on the album. And I'm really excited. I love country music, and I never thought that I would be able to, I guess, dive into that side of myself, because I've had to jump through a lot of hurdles to have, I guess, my creative freedom and to tell the narrative that I want to tell, which is my own. Those aren't necessarily freedoms I had being signed to a major label, so to finally get to do this independently and freely in the literal sense and the metaphorical sense is a really good feeling, and it's nice to finally have my own story come through my music.